The dust settles after last week a little, and let's begin with the question that ought to trouble any sensible nation. When is a trade deal not a trade deal? And the answer apparently is when it's brokered by Donald Trump and signed by a British Prime Minister, so desperate to claim a post-Brexit triumph that they'll settle for anything bearing an American flag and the word deal. The latest Trump-UK trade agreement has been hailed by its architects as a breakthrough, but in truth, it's neither comprehensive nor enforceable nor even mutually beneficial. And according to the Nobel laureate Joseph Stiglitz, it isn't worth the paper that it's written on. And frankly, with respect and after reflection, I quite agree. This so-called deal makes a few headlines but very little difference. It reduces punitive tariffs on some UK car exports, allowing up to 100,000 vehicles per year to enter the US with a 10% tariff instead on the previous 27.5%. But that's a cap, not a carte blanche. Beyond that, the only other elements are steel and aluminium tariff adjustments within rigid quotas. For a special relationship, this is excruciatingly transactional. And meanwhile, Trump's 10% blanket tariff on most UK imports remains untouched. It's a crippling blow to a small and medium-sized British exporter. And the issue of the TV and movie tariff hasn't been addressed at all. This isn't liberalisation. This is managed trade in its most lopsided form. Trump imposes a blanket attack and then pulls back a little bit, and we're supposed to be saluting that as something wonderful. One might call it tribute diplomacy, where the UK genuflects before a mercurial emperor in the hope of not being slapped harder next time. Professor Stiglitz was clear. The UK has played directly into Trump's divide and conquer playbook. Rather than negotiate through collective strength with the EU, Britain has isolated itself and rushed to Trump's side, not as a partner, but as a supplicant. And yet, Britain had alternatives. It could have coordinated with the EU for a pan-European settlement with Washington, maintained leverage, consistency, and legal parity. Instead, we went alone and got a deal so narrow that even the Shadow Home Secretary described it as not a comprehensive trade deal, and he's quite right. Worse still, the agreement's durability is reasonable. Trump has a track record of binning deals the moment they cease to amuse him. Recall NAFTA, replaced by USMCA, then partially recalled and ignored. Recall the China tariffs, raised, lowered, then raised again. One cannot form a stable trading relationship with a man who governs like a temperamental emperor. This isn't diplomacy. It's whimsy masquerading as policy. As Stiglitz dryly put it, Trump doesn't believe in the rule of law. To sign a trade deal with such a man and declare it an enduring framework is like building a summer house on quicksand and calling it Windsor Castle. It gets worse. This agreement may well violate the most favoured nation principle of the World Trade Organization, a rule that says any favoured treatment given to one country must be extended to all WTO members, unless under a guarantee and under a genuine free trade agreement. But the Trump-UK deal is not such an agreement. It's a private arrangement, more akin to a gentleman's nod than a legal pact. It sets a dangerous precedent. Britain, once a pillar of global trade law, now risks being cast as an enabler of its erosion. And precisely the moment when the world requires a recommitment to rules-based order, the UK has been co-opted into Trump's transactional circus. Finally, we must acknowledge the strategic folly. Rather than deepen ties with the EU, our largest trading partner, our closest regulatory match, our geographical neighbour, our global neighbour, we choose to pursue a volatile and threadbare deal with a US president who is more interested in headlines than harmony. The deal exposes the UK to higher tariffs than we faced at the beginning of the year. It offers no protection for sectors like pharmaceuticals, digital services or financial regulation. It contains no provision on climate, labour rights or dispute resolution. This isn't modern trade. This is mercantile nostalgia. It's not sovereignty regained. This is economic subjugation by handshake. As Professor Stiglitz warned, the UK has entered into a shallow, unstable, and possibly unlawful agreement that benefits Trump more than Britain. A trade deal that can be torn up in a tweet is not a deal at all. It's theatre, and Britain is playing the fool.